Well, welcome to a new episode of Sportsbook Junkies here. I'm your co-host, Nathan, and I've got Keebler here joining us live. Now, I got to say, this was not a very pleasant betting week for me and myself. Just seems like mostly college football is usually what I do. I do maybe a few NFL things here and there. with the portal and NIL, I feel like my days on some crazy parlays are coming to a close because I went into last week. I went into like the night games, getting really close to hitting a decent parlay, and then some of the favorites just ended up collapsing. So I feel like the gap has closed a lot, but who knows? Seems like we were talking here a little bit earlier. It seems like you're not doing so hot either with some NFL picks.
No, this week fucking killed me. Funny story, not necessarily NFL related, but just in general. So what I like to do is I like to live bet underdogs on foreign sports, meaning Euro League, soccer, things like that. Like that should win. I haven't missed a single pick on Euro League and Champions League basketball. Knock on wood. But I combine. I think it was an international friendly game for soccer and a Mexican basketball money line together. $20 made me 170. I withdrew 40 of that because I wanted to buy something, and then I just lost the other 130, just like betting on random shit. Outside of that, football kind of killed me a little bit. Just because everything's so weird. There's been so many underdogs, so many guys who should be putting up numbers all of a sudden go down with injury or and their like bet doesn't get voided, or I don't know. Dak Prescott has more rushing yards than Tony Pollard, and Dak gets a rushing touchdown, which was plus 450. I don't really understand it, but yeah, that's about how my week's going.
Well, I feel like some of these NFL things have been pretty weird this year with yardage. I mean, last weekend, and I can look it up here and pull it up, but I had like a decent, a small parlay. I felt like for the London game, and it looked like it was going to hit real well, but it did not hit. It was Mark Andrews 4 receptions, Zay Flowers 50 yards, Gus Edwards 40 yards rushing, Derrick Henry 50 yards rushing, and DeAndre Hopkins 40 yards receiving. I think in the first half, Hopkins had 20 yards, which is like, okay, we're on track here. He didn't have a single reception in the second half, from what I remember.
Yeah, I also advise people to take DeAndre Hopkins. I think it was 50 yards because everyone was saying like, "Oh, D Hop's gonna have a big game coming off this game last week." Like, take his yards. So I was advising people to do that, and then all of a sudden he ends up with like 27 or something like that. Yeah, he let a lot of people down, myself included.
Well, I mean, it's just part of the game, so I'm not too bad about it, and it wasn't like it was a big bet or anything like that. But I've noticed that quite a bit. I mean, I'm going back through and looking at some other things here. It's just like it's real hard at times to kind of hit the yardage thing. I mean, like for example, when both weirdly enough, the last two London games I've missed by a leg apiece. There was when the Jags played the Bills, I hit Josh Allen 2 touchdowns, 200 yards passing, 70 yards receptions for Stephon Diggs. Travis Etienne for 50 plus yards rushing, Calvin Ridley 50 yards receiving. The only one that didn't hit was James Cook at 40 plus yards, and I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure he ended up with negative yards for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it pulled up here. Let's see. Yeah, he had five carries for negative 4 yards in the London game. So it's just, I'm
When he's
not overall.
really solid all year too.
Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know what it was. It's not like, and I can pull up some stats here and see, but
Let's go.
just off the top of my head, I don't feel like defense yards. Let's do yards allowed here real quick.
Speaking of
Uh,
a bad beat, sorry, I just want to throw this out there real quick. I bet on the last Philly and Diamondbacks game. I had Philly's money line, Harper to get a hit, Real Muto to get a hit, Aaron Nola over 15.5 outs recorded, Aaron Nola to record 5 strikeouts, Merrill Kelly to record 3 strikeouts, Castellanos to get a hit, and Merrill Kelly to allow over 3.5 hits. Merrill Kelly allowed 3 hits, all of them being home runs. I needed 4. And then Castellanos didn't get a hit. So I was a hit and a hit away from $300.
well, damn, to say the least. Since I wasn't able to be last week, did you share that bad beat that I had?
Yeah, the 17
Yeah,
and 18. I talked about that too.
yeah, like out of all things, for it to be a bad beat, it has to be on that bullshit Miami thing, to
Yeah.
say the least. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking up here in terms of, I just curious just for that Buffalo Jaguars game. And the Jaguars are okay, so they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are 6th right now in terms of total rushing defense.
Yeah.
But like the Bills didn't like get anything going on the ground whatsoever. I mean, Josh Allen was the leading rusher with
That's what I'm saying. Like the quarterbacks
14 yards.
more rushing yards than the running backs. It just makes no sense.
Well, I mean, once you get like through a couple of games, then you can kind of see who's going to be what on what offenses, basically. So,
Yeah. I also realized I have
yeah.
enough awards credits on Caesars to give myself $1 to bet on this Jaguars game. So
Oh man.
we're
Well,
gonna run with this and make a nice little 10 leg to hopefully turn $1 into like 100.
so yeah, but speaking of that game today, I ended up putting in a decent parlay. It's 8 legs. And it goes Alvin Kamara, 25 yards receiving. Chris Olave, 50 yards receiving. Christian Kirk, 40 yards receiving. Kamara, 40 yards rushing. Travis Etienne, 40 yards rushing. Michael Thomas, 25 yards receiving. Evan Ingram, 25 yards receiving. Rashid Shaheed, 2 receptions or more, and then over 30.5 points, which I feel the only one there that I think might be a little iffy, just because, if I go back and look, Olave last week, or no, when they played the Patriots, which was, it wasn't last week, it may have been the previous week, but he was kind of banged up a little bit. I mean, he had a good game last week, but what's his status going to be? So that's probably the one I'm more concerned about, just because, having a couple of these guys on my fantasy team, I feel pretty confident. Like, for example, Michael Thomas has been consistently, he's been consistently hitting over 25 yards with a handful of receptions. And from the last couple games here for the Saints, let me go their stats here.
Thank you for reminding me to set my fantasy lineup, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got about 50 minutes here. So in terms of game logs for Rashid Shaheed, he's had 2 receptions, 3 receptions, 0 receptions, 4 receptions in the last 5 games. So he usually gets a decent amount of targets. And I'm not looking for yards here, so that's not too bad. But yeah, so
okay. The only person I'm starting for today's game is Christian Kirk, who I assume is going to have a good game. Yeah, no, I like your thought process behind that. One parlay that was plus 1,000 that I saw someone had was, I think it was Kamara over his receptions, which I think he's at 3.5 or 4.5 because the Jags have let up the most receptions or receiving yards to running backs. Kirk and Ridley over 50, and then Jags on the spread, I think at like plus 4.5. Like they bought 2 points, which I don't know why that's plus 1,000 personally, but
wait, it's really?
yeah, they have an AI model that they use, and it projected Kirk and Ridley to go for 70 and 90. So I think 50 on both is pretty safe on that. If we go according to the AI model, I'm just looking at the Jags money line, and I'm wondering why it's plus. I'm gonna.
Well, they are the Saints are favored by 2 at home, so on a neutral field, it'd probably be about a 1-point game for the Jags. I mean,
I think I'm gonna take the Jags on the money line.
I mean, they are undefeated. 2 games, but they are undefeated on the road this year. And it's just,
the Saints just have
it's
pretty underwhelming. Their defense has been good.
Yeah, and I mean, having Trevor Lawrence, like he has been pretty inconsistent here, in terms of fantasy points, which in the long run doesn't matter in real life here. But
Yeah,
I think here, like you said, I'd probably end up taking the Jags too. But we'll see here. So I did want to touch base before we dived in to some more Sunday games here. I got some Saturday games here that I'm really, really intrigued by. So I am going to.
you said which day?
For some Saturday games here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to share the screen here. This will. So yeah. So if you can see here, so I got Saturday games pulled up. This one is really intriguing to me. Penn State, Ohio State. Probably, in my opinion, this is the matchup of the week in all of the games.
I'm going to trust your comment here just because I do not watch college football. I just want to throw that disclaimer out there.
Oh, that's all good. I'm a big Big Ten guy, being an IU alum here, which we're not going to talk about this game because let's be real, it's not going to be a fun time on Saturday most likely. But yeah, you got the matchup of Penn State, Ohio State here. You got a top 10 matchup, could be potentially top 5 matchup, maybe even with the way things are going, depending on how it goes, a playoff matchup. But we'll see how Michigan figures into that. You got Ohio State at home, minus 4.5, over under is 45.5. I think, and if we go to we'll go to the Penn State page here real quick. Looking at their schedule, they've had a pretty solid defense here, but whether or not, I just don't know. I mean, I know you're not going to necessarily know here, but I just don't know if their defense is as strong as what Notre Dame's defense was, because Notre Dame's defense is really good, and they held Ohio State to 17 points, and that's also with new quarterback coming in first couple of games here. So it's going to be intriguing to me. I would comfortably, in my opinion, I'm going to comfortably take the over on that at 45.5. Maybe even, hedge it a little bit and get some points, or take some points and maybe make it like 41.5 or something like that.
That's fair.
But I think I might take Ohio State at home there. Even with a newer quarterback, I'm still thinking comfortably. I think they'll win there. So another big game here. Well, not really a big game, but one I was intrigued with was Navy Air Force here. So, and I'm more just intrigued with the over under here of 34.5. So Air Force is undefeated. Navy's at 500. Air Force has had the run of the mill in terms of Russian defense there. So, or Russian offense, excuse me. In fact, let's be real, um, all of the service academies generally do. So, like, Air Force is at 334.2 yards rushing per game. That's fantastic, obviously. Navy's defense from the couple of games that I have seen before, they're a little shaky with giving up consistent points as well as yardage. Obviously, this is going to be a game of, I would put money on there would be less than 200 total passing yards in this game between the two teams, and maybe even less than that. But Navy's offense, let's go their defense here. They're giving up 375.3 yards on the ground there. Or no, that's total yards, excuse me. I reading it incorrectly here. But they're giving up 148.5 rushing yards per game here. But looking at their schedule here, I got to pull that up. None of the teams that they really played, aside from Notre Dame, really come off the board as a Russian attack here. So I just don't know that they have really played a team, with as a deadly rushing attack as the Air Force, which is funny to say considering, it's the Air Force Academy. But yeah, just going to overall on the rushing defense here. Navy is in the bottom half of the country in terms of total rushing yards here. So, I I'm going to take the over on that Air Force one as well, and feel pretty comfortable about it.
That's fair.
A couple other games, I just got to scroll down here. Tennessee, Alabama. That's going to be a real interesting one to me, just because Alabama's had consistency issues at quarterback. Both of them have a loss. Tennessee's got their loss in the SEC to Florida, which was kind of a mind-boggling loss, if we're going to be honest. Both of them are coming off wins, kind of shaky wins. I mean, Tennessee was a little more comfortable against Texas A&M last week, but there wasn't a ton of offense in that one. And then Alabama had a decent lead going through. Looked like they were going to cover against Arkansas at 9.5 points last week, and then just completely crapped the bed in the second half there. So you've got teams with missing pieces from last year, that are trying to gel together, you could say, and just, be successful there. So I'm really curious with them being at, over under at 48. I'm really intrigued. I'll probably take the over, but I'm not as confident as that in the other ones.
Gotcha.
Another one here that I've only got a couple more here, but another one here that I really want to talk about is this Iowa-Minnesota game here. So obviously you mentioned you're not, too caught up on college football here, which is totally fine. But Iowa is 6-1 overall, and they're 6-1, 100% not due to their offense. They quite possibly could go undefeated the rest of the year to the Big Ten title game. be 11-1, and have a legitimate shot at a playoff spot, and have the worst offense imaginable. They are absolutely, absolutely garbage on offense. They got some injuries, but just with they're much maligned offensive coordinator has a clause in his contract that he's got to average was either 24 or 25 points a game, or he could potentially get fired.
Damn.
So, and they're kind of onto it, kind of not. I mean, they won 24-14, 20-13, 41-10, got blown out by Penn State 31-0, Michigan State 26-16, Purdue 20-14, Wisconsin last week, and 15-6, mind you. That was that score last week, and
Yeah.
it was a classic Big Ten score. So when you see a score 15-6, how do you think those points came?
I mean,
so
I
15.
would assume the 6 or the 9 would be through field goals. 1 second.
Well, yeah.
My bad. The 15 was probably 5 field goals, I assume.
So 15 was a touchdown, an extra point, 2 field goals, and a safety. And they scored 8 points in the fourth quarter, and you would think, okay, maybe they scored a touchdown and went for 2 and got it. Nope, it was 2 field goals and a safety. They played a game about a year or 2 ago against South Dakota State, who's a really good FCS program, which is the level just right below the games we're talking about here. They won 7-3, and you would think, in that case, they won by scoring a touchdown and not giving up anything but a field goal. But they scored 2 safeties and a field goal in that game, and then scored a touchdown. So, I saw something the other day that there were 15 games in college football in the last 20 some years with an over under at 35 or less, and Iowa's been a part of 11 or 12 of them.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they're not well known for some defense here, or well known for some offense here. So with that being at 30.5. Minnesota has not looked good, period. So I don't imagine Minnesota scoring very much. Even with the 30.5, it's really hard to consider taking the over in that. I mean, just with how overall, by themselves, Iowa's gone over it once, but I would honestly take the under in that one. Because Iowa's not going to do much on offense, irregardless of how Minnesota is. So I'm taking the under in that one as well, and throwing these all in a parlay.
That's fair.
But the last game here, and I think it's at the bottom here, that I wanted to really touch base on and just make it sure. Yep. So the last game here is Utah USC, rematch of Pac-12 title game last year. So this one is interesting to me because if it weren't for some injuries, I would confidently say, even with Utah being on the road in Los Angeles, I would confidently take Utah, with points.
Yeah.
However, they've had some pretty serious injuries. They've had some serious injuries where their star quarterback, who is going to be, in my opinion, a pretty high draft pick in the draft coming up next year, or the year after, he has not played all year, and their replacement quarterbacks have been pretty atrocious for the most part. But their defense is still absolutely phenomenal. So as we saw last week, for people who are into some college football here, we saw last week Notre Dame pretty confidently take care of business against USC there, and made USC kind of look like a fool. And Utah might have as good of, if not a better defense than Notre Dame. I'd have to dig more deep into that, but I mean, they're that good, and I think they can continue to make continue to make life hell for Caleb Williams and that offense. And, this is a theme with Lincoln Riley ever since he was at Oklahoma. But USC's defense couldn't even stop things hitting the water from being thrown out of a boat into the ocean. Yeah. So I'm really curious. I confidently USC is a 7-point favorite at home. But I think even with the inconsistent issues on the offense with the quarterbacks in Utah, I think you can comfortably take the Utah +7 in this scenario.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm not distracted anymore. I finally just constructed my parlay for the game.
All right, let's hear this then. I got to hear this from you.
All right, here we go. I was gonna throw in Jags money line to make it +10,000, but I'll settle with a +7,500. So we got Calvin Ridley over 52.5 receiving yards, Christian Kirk over 51.5 receiving yards, ETN and Kamara both to score a touchdown. In case the air game isn't working, I feel like they might go run. ETN over 50 rushing yards, Blake Group over 5.5 kicking points, which would mean he just has to make 2 field goals. Or he can do like 3 extra points on a field goal or, something like that. Alontae Taylor to have over 3.5 defensive tackles plus assists. And then Olave to have 50+ receiving yards. And that is my parlay for tonight. $1 to turn into 76.
That's not too bad. There might be a couple of there that I'd be kind of iffy about, but that's really not too bad.
Yeah, the only ones I'm iffy about are Kirk and Ridley because there's a trend with the Jags that if they go to one, the other doesn't get their yards, even though he should be incorporating both of them in that high-powered offense. I feel like tonight they will do that. I feel like they're going to try to incorporate both. I think Evan Ingram, who I accidentally left off of there, is also going to contribute big tonight. I wouldn't be surprised of an Evan Ingram touchdown. I was thinking about going that way, but I just wanted to play it safe with the running backs. I feel like that's a little smarter. But yeah, that's about what I got.
That's not too bad whatsoever there, man.
I was going to take it from over 4.5 receptions. I just had like a gut feeling, but I left it out. So I know it's going to hit now that I left it out, but everyone go take 4.5 receptions on Ingram because I left it off, so it's going to hit.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch base here. I have I've got, just wanted to give some NASCAR picks here, and since I unfortunately still don't know why I can't deposit on Caesars, or else I would be doing it. Yeah, I don't know why, or else I'd be doing this, but
just delete your account, make a new one. I'll give you my referral code, and then maybe you'll be able to, and then we can both put it.
Yeah, well, wouldn't they? Well, I'll have to look at it later, but they're one of the few left that allows for parlaying of race head-to-head matchups here. So that's how I've been pretty successful with racing in terms of making bets on there. It just you can't fucking do it on FanDuel for some reason anymore. Which I kind of get that. So last year, in the summer Daytona race, you used to be able to on FanDuel parlay things like top 10 finishes and like head-to-head matchups. And this person placed a bet last year. They used a free bet, and it was plus 7408700. So that's 7,408,700. They put a free bet of $13.49 on 4 back markers to finish in the top 10 at plus 2,000, plus 2,000, plus 1,500, plus 950. And with, I'm not going to go too in depth with the race, but and some crazy things happened. And those four guys ended up finishing in the top 10. And this better turned a $13.49 free bet into $999,433.63. So now FanDuel doesn't let people parlay top 10s, top fives matchups anymore.
Just because they lost some mil off that one.
I mean, there were other bets that I saw people won a bunch of money with, but on Caesars, you can still do head-to-heads and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
some of these head-to-heads that I liked, you had Kyle Larson versus Denny Hamlin, and mind you, this is who finishes higher. Kyle Larson at minus 200, which is pretty high, and Denny Hamlin at plus 165. I would include this one because I feel pretty comfortable at potentially seeing a Kyle Larson win this weekend, but I still think he finishes in front of Denny Hamlin here. Another one that I really like here, it's Chase Elliott versus Brad Keselowski. Chase Elliott at plus 110. He's had a real up and down year.
You can bet on individual people to finish ahead of like one other person.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I on DraftKings in previous times, I've made some money doing that. I won like $2,500 one time on. Now, mind you, I did one where I bet the truck race the day before, head-to-head matchups. That one hit. It went from like $10 to $177, and then I flipped that $177 to ended up with $2,500 basically. So ended up having a nice steak dinner at a real fancy steakhouse later on. But
yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. So but anyway, Chase Elliott at plus 110. It's kind of a sleeper pick there. I think that they'll have a good run at Miami and get it over Brad Keselowski. You've also got Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. at minus 135. Tyler Reddick at plus 105. I'd also take Tyler Reddick in that one. Now, Martin Truex Jr. has been more consistent over the year, but Tyler Reddick's pretty known for running what's one of the faster lines at Homestead, which is the top line right around the top of the racetrack, right at the wall. And he's had some really good finishes. He's ended up winning 2 championships because of some wins at Homestead in the lower series. So that's another one that I like there. So taking those ones that I mentioned there, you could end up doing it's plus 546. So, $10 wins $54.60. And sometimes I'd like to add some extra ones here, such as a couple more there. So, like for example, I just added Bubba Wallace plus 100 versus Kevin Harvick because I think the Toyotas will be pretty fast this weekend. And then I got Seabell minus 125 over Kyle Busch. And you could end up having a parlay of plus 2,025. And that's just off of 5 head-to-head matchups. Now, obviously, it gets harder to ensure all of those hit, but I think it's a well worth one to look over there. So if you get some money, you want to play around, like maybe throw like $5-10 on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it for this weekend, man.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'll listen to your NASCAR picks. I know nothing about NASCAR. I'll be honest. That's another sport where I just never got into it. I love Formula One though. I just never got into NASCAR, but I'll definitely take your word for that.
And they also have Xfinity.
After the podcast, if you want, I could try to help you fix that Caesars thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so now for the thing that I'm sure most people are waiting for here, we've got our Sunday, Monday NFL games. So, Mr. What is going on with the NFL? What are some thoughts you got? What are some picks you think look pretty good for the weekend?
Yeah, what the F is going on with the NFL is correct. In case you guys didn't know, the NFL or Caesar Sportsbook is having a 33% NFL parlay profit boost, which I just opted in for when I get paid tomorrow. And I believe that's valid through Monday. So if you have any parlays in mind, make sure to do that. Another thing they have is an NBA futures bet for profit boosts. If you bet on the NBA championship winner early, you can earn profit boosts, I think, for the NBA season, which is cool. So I would put my money probably on Denver to go back to back, but that's just my opinion.
You also, just to throw it out here, if you bet $5 or more on opening in NBA markets, whether that's game, one of the first games next week, you get 3 free months of an NBA League Pass.
Oh, that's awesome. What book is that on?
Oh yeah, that's on FanDuel. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So that being said, let's jump into the NFL picks that we have for this upcoming week. The one that I'm seeing is the first game that pops up in my mind, and I'm going to say this with the utmost confidence in my team. I'm going to go with the Giants at plus money against the Commanders at home. Because our game plan always seems to be good for Washington. It's the one team that can never really beat us. I think the Giants are due for a bounce-back game, whether it be through Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor. I think that it holds good value. I think the public's going to be on the Commanders. So going the Giants is definitely the route if you are a believer like me that the house always wins. In terms of props, I like what I'm seeing from Wan'Dale Robinson. He's basically becoming our number one receiver. So, except for Darren Waller, they both are up there in terms of receiving now that Wan'Dale's back. I'd probably take Wan'Dale at least over 25 receiving yards, at least. I think Saquon finds the end zone, even though the Commanders' run defense last week was pretty good. I don't think it's pulled up for back-to-back weeks. And the Giants have to score a touchdown somehow eventually. I think we've gone 3 straight games for that one since that Cardinals game. So someone has to find the end zone. I think it's going to be Saquon. He always plays out of his mind against the Commanders. So I may be biased me saying this, and I know Nate's probably going to say rock with the Commanders, but that's just my opinion on the game.
I don't really have a strong opinion. I don't really trust the Commanders. Is Daniel Jones back this week?
I don't know, but I really like what I saw from Tyrod Taylor against the Bills.
I think it looks better with Tyrod Taylor, just because I kind of see Daniel Jones as a garbage time quarterback. And what I mean by that is a lot of the stats are going to probably come in the later game with, them being down and stuff like that. So in that one, I don't know what the over-under off the top of my head, and my phone is not one to look up right now.
37.5.
Well, that's for the game, but for the first half.
Oh, first half, it is 19.5.
I'd take the under in that one.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel okay taking the under in that one.
It's pretty much even money for the money line for the first half. They have the Commanders minus 0.5 and minus 125 on the money line for that first half. But yeah, I'd probably go Commanders halftime, Giants win, because we have much more success in half.
That's not a bad one overall. Oh crap, I hit the wrong button. I wanted to touch base, just since we're going bias picks here. Touch base about the Raiders here. Now, Bears are without Justin Fields this week.
Who's your backup?
Tyson Bagent. He is a undrafted free agent rookie out of Division II Shepherd.
Okay, maybe I'm not going to go with the Bears.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have the same problem about getting the getting the ball out as quick as Fields does at times. But so Shepherd University is in a town called Shepherdstown in West Virginia, and it is really close. It's on the border of West Virginia and Maryland, so it's a little bit off of USA or Interstate 81. So if you looked at a map here, not that it matters, it's south of Hagerstown, a little bit, real close to Harper's Ferry. Which I don't know why I'm sharing that. Yeah, this dude that came out of nowhere, he looked really good in the preseason in the bit of action that he had.
They couldn't pick up Carson Wentz or something as like a backup
quarterback. Oh God no! Just I'll stick with Tyson Bagent. I'd rather watch Peterman because at least Peterman will be a fantastic tank commander.
Bill's legend Nathan Peterman.
I want to say the first game he started or first game he played was against the Bears, and he threw, I think, like 4 picks in the first half and got benched. He does something. I mean, he must do something right in the practice field or in the film room or something like that, where he keeps getting around. Which, like, if that's what he's good for, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at the stats here. Come on now. I want to see. Now my computer doesn't want to cooperate, but defensive passing stats here. So even with the Raiders being without Jimmy Garoppolo, so you get Brian Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell. The Bears had the 4th worst passing defense in the league. So I fully am hitting the over on multiple Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer props, because I think Michael Mayer will have a fantastic game. He's looked like he started coming out. The Raiders, on the other hand, they have the 8th best passing offense in the league, or defense, in the league. So for a rookie quarterback to go up against that, we'll see how it goes. I think they'll need to change the game plan around a little bit. I'm not saying like there are certain plays that they can't run, but I just think there are certain things that, they'll have to change up compared to how Fields will be. So, confidently like looking on this here, Raiders -2.5, over under at 37.5. I'm feeling good about taking the over in this one. I mean, I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw something every game except for 2 last week hit the under.
Yeah.
Which, again, apologies, I don't remember which 2 games it was. But this one I could see, I'm not saying turns into a shootout, but comfortably. Like, you're going to look at like a 27-20 type of game here, in my opinion. So we'll see here. Just like looking through the over-under on most of these, you're looking at about 45 to 37 is about the range you got here, except for these 2 games here on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. I'm really intrigued about this one. I mean, what are your thoughts on Dolphins Eagles here?
Dolphins Eagles. I'm probably gonna ride with the Dolphins. At plus odds. I like that a lot. I know it's at the link. I've been to the link. It's very crazy, and the crowd is one of the only crowds that, in my opinion, plays a factor in how the other team plays. Oh no, I see the Eagles are probably going to be at what's the word I'm looking for? At a loss of confidence after losing to that Jets team. And the Dolphins are just the Dolphins. They're like a very well-oiled machine that can just snap off at any time.
I mean, they both have had bad games, though. I mean, Eagles last week against the Jets. Yeah. Dolphins got blown the fuck out by the Bills the other week. So I'm real curious on that one as well. I think I'd probably take the Eagles. I'm going to take the under in this one too, just with Eagles having a really good defense taking care of business. I know this is an offensive league, but I think the Eagles are able to comfortably take Tyreek Hill out of the game.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about Waddle.
True, but I'm still comfortable feeling that they can take care of business in that regard. So I'm taking in this game, I'm taking a lot of under props, in my opinion, not the passing ones.
I think for teams, I'm going to lean on their wide receiver twos to take the over. AJ Brown's been popping off. I'll probably be Devontae Smith. Tyreek Hill's been popping off. You're going to have to work that over the top, which is going to be able to give Jalen Waddle that short route. And again, he's a big yard after catch guy. So I'm probably going to lean on the wide receiver twos a lot for the over.
That's not too bad. I would also two other games I really want to see about here is Lions Ravens. The Ravens, I don't want to say they look lost on offense because I don't think that would be very fair. But they look frustrating on offense is how I would put it. I don't think, I need to look again, but I want to confidently say Lamar's had some troubles hitting some overs on some of the passing props. Lions defense is not too bad, although, they're obviously weathering the loss of some solid players there. Baltimore -3 at home. So basically, if you think about it, it's pretty much a toss up.
I'm gonna take the Lions +3 on that one.
I probably agree to that.
I might even alt it just to give a little bit of a cushion to +7.5. But yeah, I would. The Lions are just so good, man, which is so weird to say, and I think that you can agree with me on that one. But
trust me, I've seen enough of the Lions over the history, man. Like, it's not the most pleasant of history for being a Lions fan there, but I think I'm gonna change my pick here. I like Baltimore at home. I think they'll have a 4 or 5 point win. Be pretty comfortable, look a little bit better after being in London. Lions come off a little bit of a high here. I would take Lamar to have a really good game. I'm going to take the over on passing yards.
He's my $100 buy-in fantasy league quarterback. I hope that he does something.
I'm going to take him getting at least 2 touchdown passes. And as a long shot here, I'm going to take Mark Andrews scoring 2 anytime touchdowns.
I think that has good value in it. I think Zay Flowers finding in the end zone has good value in it too. To build his rookie of the year, to build his offensive rookie of the year campaign.
And I'm also going to take even though he hasn't scored yet, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs anytime touchdown.
I don't hate that either.
Because it's looking like David Montgomery suffered an injury last week. And I think it was a rib injury of some sort. Because I was looking, mind you, fantasy projections are fantasy projections. But I was looking at my lineup and stuff earlier this week in one league, and I noticed his projection shot up about 5 points, 4 or 5 points. David Montgomery did not practice today. Also did not practice yesterday.
Yeah, so he'll probably be out or on very limited touches.
Yeah, he left the week 6 win with a rib cartilage issue. And they think it's most likely he'll lose 1 game, maybe if not 2. So, Gibbs has had hamstring issues, but I think they finally, just putting betting and fantasy aside, at first when the Lions drafted him, it was quite a shock and it didn't really make any sense. Then going through preseason camp and stuff like that, lots of rave reviews coming out for him. But then through 6 games, they've not really effectively used him or put him in good scenarios to use him, in my opinion.
Like you
Uh,
said, he's also been hurt too. I think he's missed the last.
yeah, he was out last week for the hamstring issue. But even before that, like there were some
Yeah,
flashes, like there were a couple good looking things in Kansas City, but and I mean to be fair, they really haven't needed to use him. I mean David Montgomery's been fantastic, but what was the point in drafting him?
yeah.
Like honestly,
I think he was. I think they might move on from David Montgomery. They just wanted to pick up their guy early so they could build on other positions like next draft.
well, I think
But David
what's his
Montgomery's been a tank this year. He's like a
yeah,
touch.
he's been the Jamal Williams role, but better. So Dave Montgomery's contract, 3-year contract, $18 million, 11 million of it guaranteed. So they'll probably keep him at least 2 years, in my opinion, and
Oh,
then
he just
maybe
signed that extension, or
yeah, because he was a free agent last year. He was on the Bears previously. The Bears didn't re-sign him, which Bears probably could have given him some money. I mean,
that
that's not
contract
a bad
is a
contract.
trade piece too. If they did want to move on from him, if he's on a cheap contract for a running back, showing
Right.
really good potential.
But yeah, so like it just didn't to me. It doesn't make any sense that I mean, what was the point in fucking drafting him? In all honesty, but it looks like it may be the Gibbs and Reynolds show this weekend.
Fair.
I don't think none of these other games. I'm not so much betting, but I'm real curious to see how this one goes. The Niners and the Vikings, because the Vikings have looked pretty pitiful, and then now they're obviously without Justin Jefferson for 3 more games. And let me tell you, KJ Osborne was a disappointment last week. I didn't really play him, but yeah. So McCaffrey did not take part in practice on Thursday. Um, he may be out this week, maybe.
Yeah, they said that McCaffrey's going to be out probably 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing too is Debo got hurt. Yeah, he's listed as questionable too. And let's see here. Did not practice Thursday. That's going to be big Ayuk numbers, to say the least. If that's not the case, or like right now, I'm going to see what they got for the Niners and Vikings for that game. See if they got any of these props up here.
I don't. Oh, they do.
Oh, they don't on. They have like no yardage props on here, so you can't even do anything with that. But
Okay, so let me take it from here. Um,
go
they,
to the. I'm really curious what the receiving ones for the Niners are.
oh, why did they just do that? Hang on. Oh, what is going on with my phone? Okay, enough, please. It just like glitched out. Okay, so for the Niners, they only have Ayuk and Kittle up. They have Ayuk at 65.5, and they have Kittle at 43.5.
I'd take the over for Ayuk, in
Yeah,
my opinion. I
he's
mean, I,
he's looked
I
so
was
good this year for no reason.
I was really curious if they were going to have. Yeah, unfortunately they don't. But I was really curious to see, and they got Jordan Addison at only 48.5 at the over under. I'm smashing the over on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna also take the over on T Hawk at
Um,
48.5.
I was really hoping that maybe like Jawan Jennings or Ray McLeod were going to be up, and I was curious to see what their over under was. But obviously, with Devo's situation, they're not up there. I mean, yeah, they don't have any Niners rushing on here. They've got Alexander Madison at 45.5.
Are you looking on Caesars?
Yeah, and
Oh,
Kirk Cousins at 3.5.
yeah.
which
I might lean on the under for Alexander Madison, to be honest.
I think the Niners are probably going to be in a comeback like scenario the entire thing. But yeah, like Kirk Cousins over under 3.5. He has only gotten over that. He got over that twice this year, but I would probably still take the under in that one. But whatever.
That would be a fun little sweat, just picking Kirk over or under.
I think there was one time I have to go back and look, but I picked Tom Brady at my over at 1.5 yards, and I think he ended up with like negative yards.
Jesus Christ. They have Derek Carr tonight for 1.5. I don't even know what I would lean on that either. I'm probably going to just say over, just for the fuck of it. But
I mean, the Jags, like I said, they got some good rushing defense, but yeah, Derek Carr for the year has 11 carries for 7 yards.
Never mind. I'm not going to take the over on that.
And looking at his game log, what was the over under?
1.5.
Yeah. Last week, 1 carry for 2 yards.
Hey.
Against New England the week before, 2 carries for 4 yards.
Hey.
At Tampa Bay versus Tampa Bay the week before, 2 carries for 1 yard.
Oh, well.
At Green Bay, 0 carries for 0 yards. At Carolina, 3 carries, negative 4 yards.
God damn it.
Versus Tennessee, 3 carries, 4 yards.
See, so he's starting to run the ball a little more. I think.
Well, I wonder if the Carolina, and I'm going to look this up, but I wonder if the Carolina game, why he's got negative yardage, is due to let's see, they did have the ball at the end of the game. So
my fault.
Yeah. So
this game really quick while you saw.
That's all good. So yeah, so they got the ball with like 1:15 left against Carolina, and they ran one play, got the first down. Carolina called a timeout. Then they called another timeout. Then he kneed. So all 4 of the yards he lost were kneeing. So crazy enough, he might be okay taking the under because he's not really. I mean, Tennessee. I'm going to click on the couple here that he has. I mean,
I feel like he could just break off for like a 3-yard run.
He could, but like I'm looking here and I'm trying to see when he got his rush against Tennessee, because it was 3 for 4. Okay, so in Tennessee, he rushed for 7 yards on 1 rush, and then the end of the game, he kneeled twice. So that's where the 3 for 4 comes. But he had the 1 7-yard rush. New England, clicked on the wrong one here. So the 2 for 4 here. We'll do the Texans one then. Why is this not? Every time I try to like right click on a link, it'll send me the team page and not the actual score.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for when they played New England and he got 2 for 4, I'm looking here. No. I mean, he doesn't, Carr still just does not really run the ball here. Like, I'm looking through the first half here, and he's got none there. He has 1 rush at the end of the half for a -1 yard, which was kneeling. Um, it's probably too late now, but like, I mean, just looking at their play calls and stuff like that, I would honestly I would have taken the under, as crazy as it is.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Brady's was like 1.5 that one time, and he finished with negative, so it's not unreasonable to think.
Yeah. So, I mean, just looking through this,
Man, I'm excited for this game, low key.
yeah. So, but as for me, those are really the games I had of interest this week.
Yeah, you want to give a pick of the week, like your absolute like money line lock for NFL?
Yeah.
I think I have mine in mind, but I just want to know yours.
Yeah. What's yours in mind?
I have two. One I already elaborated on. I'm really liking the Giants at plus money. But the other one that I was thinking was Chiefs against the Chargers. I feel like they're going to lock up that division. If the Chiefs win, they have the division on lock for the year, essentially.
Yeah, my lock of the week is the over in the Chiefs Chargers game at over under 48.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Chiefs definitely will do something. They just got Mecole Hardman back too, from the Jets. But that Chiefs defense by the metrics is top 10 in the league.
I still think that the Chargers have got enough offense to make a difference, though. I don't think that they're going to win by any stretch. So
Mike Williams going down definitely hurts that
yeah,
a little bit with that ACL, but no, they still have a high-powered enough offense where they could do something. Like I love Justin Herbert. You have him slinging the rock, so you can never really count him out. But against Patrick Mahomes, who, in my opinion, is going to finish as the top quarterback of all time, I think that they have the game pretty much on lock, money line wise.
Excuse me, the best quarterback of all time is Sid Luckman for the Bears. But anyway, where can they find you at?
So you guys can find me tonight in like 45 minutes on the bounce with Kev and James. You can find me on Twitter at the Nick Stop. You can find me on Instagram at the Nick Stop. You can find me on Twitter at SB_Junkies_pod or SB_Junkies pod. It's something like that. It's one of the two. And then that's basically it. Where can they find you?
Just everywhere and anywhere. I mean, I'm getting another podcast put together, and I've got a Twitter account for it. I just need to make a logo. So
that's the NASCAR.
It's going to be called Across the Yard of Bricks, which is what is it? It's kind of a homage to. So for me, being from Indianapolis. Living in Indiana most of my life, being a native Hoosier, a big thing for us is obviously the Indianapolis 500 and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which, is effectively nicknamed the Brickyard, because it used to be at one point in time, it used to be made completely out of bricks. And I think it was like 3.5 million bricks made up the track or whatever, but they still have, it's asphalt now, obviously, but there is still a yard going across that is a yard of bricks. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's just a homage to that. It's not really necessarily as NASCAR races there, but that's not the main thing that's there. And while that's going to be my main focus, it's just kind of a homage to what I grew up with. So yeah.
And when's that podcast going to be? What day? What time?
I don't have a specific day and time, but I'm shooting for the first one to be coming up next Sunday in the evening, because that will be the final race of the round of 8 for the Cup Series, which will be leading into the championship race. So just have a good thing to chat about there, and then a lot of stuff to move into the off season and go from there. So that's where you'll be able to find me coming up here. And everybody go ahead.
And Alontae Taylor goes down with injury when he's in my parlay.
Oh, I just got a notification, which is good for me. So apparently Evan Ingram, one of the first plays of the game was Evan Ingram for a reception for 20 yards.
Yeah.
I just need him for 25.
Oh, so you're set on that leg. You don't really have to
I'm
worry.
getting there, but
Yeah,
but
Monte Taylor, his return is probable. Okay, we'll take that. How did he get hurt though? He wasn't even involved in the. He wasn't even involved in the tackle. I don't know.
happens sometimes, man. But
Oh well.
for everybody that's watching, please gamble responsibly. Don't bet out of your means. So
Yeah.
keep your feet
Don't
on
bet
your
your
table.
emergency money that you have put to the side for 10,000 parlay.
Yeah. So just gamble within your means. If you need help, a good hotline to call is 1-800-GAMBLER, or you can also call for a addiction hotline is 1-800-662-4357. And we'd like to have fun with this. It's a nice way to keep a different dynamic with games and stuff. Keep kind of, what's the term I'm looking for?
Interest in the games
Keep
too.
interest in the game, but please do it responsibly. And for that, we appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next week at our new day on Wednesdays moving forward.
Let's go.